Good evening. I'm Matt,
I'm Eric.
and this is This Week at the Movies. We hope you guys had a wonderful weekend last weekend and maybe watching a tiny little football game called the Super Bowl. There were a number of trailers that dropped during the game, and when we get out of here tonight, we are going to look at a couple of the big films that made their trailer debuts and talk about what is coming this summer. But we are also looking at the last couple of weeks. We've had a couple of female centric films, one that opened on Valentine's Day, a little film called Madam Web. Perhaps you've heard of it. But before we get to that one, we are going to swing all the way back to February 9th. And the latest from Diablo Cody, directed by Robin Williams' daughter Zelda, and that was Lisa Frankenstein. Which a very interesting movie about a girl who is moving to a new town. Her mother has died. I thought, I'll be honest, when they first tell you, when her stepsister first tells her friends how her mother died, I thought that was going to be a joke. It
Yeah, me too.
decidedly was not. Her mother was killed by like an axe murderer. Uh, and so now she's, the poor Lisa, a little bit on the outside. Her senior year of high school, she moved to a new city, a new high school with her father and her stepmother, played by Carla Gugino, who's not super friendly, and her new stepsister, who's maybe a little overly friendly. She spends a lot of time pining away, making sketches of the graves in an abandoned graveyard. She gets invited to a high school party. Things don't go super well. Then a big lightning strike comes, and one of the occupants of her favorite grave just pops right up on out of the ground. And that kind of is the springboard for the story here. Eric, I actually enjoyed this one. I'll just say right now I'm giving it a thumbs up. Did you enjoy this one?
Yeah, I'm giving it a solid thumb up. I got flavors early on of like 90s Tim Burton, your Edward Scissorhands era kind of thing. And as far as something to model off of, that felt kind of fresh because we haven't seen it in a long time. And I don't know, it was really nice. Everyone was endearing. Every character that looked like they were going to be like a recognizable, almost not really trope is a bad word, but you have like the evil stepmother, sure. But then you'd think that the sister, for example, is going to be someone who's like making up stories or is trying to undermine her popularity or trying to do something, but she's not. She's a little more like genuine than that. And like every time I tried to think like, oh, this is like the story they're going with, this is a familiar thing, it was always a little bit different, and it kept things feeling like really open. I love that, without being too straightforward about it, that the lead is not a good person. Like that, the story was very much about that being followed through to conclusion. It wasn't about them turning into a good person. That felt way original. And the only other real big note I guess I'd have is that the climax was a climax, and I thought that was pretty funny, a little on the nose. So many things that they choose to do, like little things. Um, the whole sequence of Cole Sprouse walking up to like put a worm in the yogurt, like peaches or whatever she's
It was
eating.
cottage cheese and peaches, I think.
Cottage cheese and peaches.
Which is we should say this movie is set smack dab in the 80s and has a very
Yeah.
80s look and vibe, which I thought was pretty fun.
And we don't even know that he's 100% aware of the social dynamics of what's going on and what he's doing, but he just does this thing, and it's delightful. It was absolutely small and fun, and just like I kept thinking, like, am I allowed to laugh at this? But when I watched it, the Super Bowl was going on, so there was no theater but me and my wife and her friend. So
I feel like it is supposed to be a comedy. All of Diablo Cody's work have been comedies. Famously she did Juno. Also did another film with Jason Reitman, Young Adult, which was supposed to be a comedy, didn't quite work for me. But in the horror genre, we saw her do Jennifer's Body, And that is a movie that
Like,
is probably somewhat polarizing. I think the way that I've almost seen with Lisa Frankenstein, there are people that dearly love it and thought it was funny and it worked for them. And there are people that decidedly do not enjoy it. I enjoyed Jennifer's Body. I think you did as
me
well.
too.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
surprising that we're here. I'm glad you mentioned Edward Scissorhands. That was probably the thing I thought of the most too, with the way, you know, Cole Sprouse is dialogue free pretty much until the stinger at the end.
Mm.
And little fun scenes like when he's playing the piano for her and she's singing REO Speedwagon, and it made me. I mean, there were
He let that go for so long. That was really sweet. Like, I don't know, that was cool.
there were a lot of fun things. I liked Catherine Newton in this, but I really liked Liza Soberano. Soberano, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct, who plays her stepsister Taffy.
Mm.
It actually ends up being probably one of the best characters, like you said, kind of a bait and switch for the genre. There were also some just weird sequences of violence in this and some
Yeah.
weird sequences overall. I mean, there were times where I went a little back and forth, and I think I've seen people say they struggle with, did I like it? Did I not like it? I thought about it for a while. Ultimately, I feel like I enjoyed it and I enjoyed the dialogue and the look that they crafted here, you know, that very 80s vibe. Some of the shots and sequences were very engaging as well. I don't think this is probably going to be the kind of film that works for everyone, but if you have a little bit of a different sense of humor, which I think both of us do, it
Yeah.
probably is going to work for you.
I think a good way to kind of draw a line is if you're the kind of person that can accept that a damaged tanning bed can make a dead person, and you just have to accept this without someone telling it to you. It will make a dead person gradually be more lifelike, and it will make a live person gradually die. Like, and you just have to understand, like, that's how it works. And if you are on the level where you can kind of pick up what this movie is doing and just be on board with it, then you're probably gonna really enjoy this. But if that is the kind of thing where you would think, that's stupid. Why would that work for her and not for him and this and that, and like start to kind of the seams would show for you on the world they're trying to develop, then you're probably not going to have fun. So
I think where I've seen people struggle too is you mentioned as a lead, Lisa's not very likable at times, or, you know, a lot of the time.
she's not trying to
Um,
be, but I liked her.
she's not trying to be. I think that's kind of the case with a lot of the films, yeah, like Cody has done, especially like young adult. I think that's where people got really frustrated because Charlize Theron's character is very caustic, but that was the whole point of the character. So you have to be able to roll with that, I guess, a little bit. Um, you know, I thought it was fun. One of the funniest sequences is when he first pops up and she realizes who it is, and and he tells her, you know, he indicates, you know, you wished we would be together. She's like, oh, I see. I meant I wished I was dead, not that you were up here with me. But thanks anyway, though. And you're like, oh my god, it just it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So we both gave that one a solid thumbs up. These are kind of the, I guess, Valentine's centric films that we got, you know, from the Friday before, and then literally releasing on Valentine's Day was the latest Marvel film from Sony. Sony has done a few of these films based on Marvel properties that, of course, do not feature or include Spider-Man himself, though a lot of tangential references here that we'll get to in a minute. And that is Madam Web. In this one, we start in 1973. They're looking for a very magical spider in the jungle. Nothing, you know, will ever potentially go wrong with that kind of a setup until, oh, wait, it does. A guy whose character is still waiting for him to be developed. I will say I like this movie more than other people, but I am not saying it's without its flaws. Decides to attack and kill the scientist, the pregnant scientist who is about to give birth, and that's Constance Webb, played by Carrie Bush. She gets pulled in by some magical warriors, gives birth in a pond of some sort. And then if we flash forward,
by a
after
spider.
getting bit by one of these magical spiders, we flash forward 30 years, and her killer, Ezekiel Sims, has some magical powers, but is haunted by the idea that 3 teenage girls are going to get Spider-Man-like powers and one day kill him. Meanwhile, Constance's daughter, Cassandra Webb, played by Dakota Johnson, is out there driving an ambulance, living kind of a carefree, untethered existence. Her partner is one Ben Parker, whose sister, Mary, is super pregnant and about to give birth and make him an uncle. And they spend a lot of time playing games to figure out what is Mary going to possibly name her child. And hopefully you've seen enough Spider-Man movies. There are like 20,000 of them that you were able to put together. That is the connection. That is as close as we're going to come to seeing Peter Parker or Spider-Man in this movie. Is he's in utero. And if you weren't able to put that together and I ruined the movie for you, them's the breaks. Anyway, Cassandra almost dies and then starts to see the future, but she doesn't really know what that's all about. And then she comes across these 3 girls who are being hunted, and she decides to kidnap / help them. I know this sounds ridiculous, and there's a lot of it that probably is ridiculous. It is one of the lowest scoring movies of all time. Both by critics, and it didn't look like the audience score was very high either. A lot of people have been down on this. I'm going to say I'm giving it a mild thumbs up. But Eric, I can tell that you're not quite on the same page.
I'm not gonna be like raring to go here. People have been treating it like a piñata, and people have been like, there are people who've been unnecessarily critical. And I was just before this watching a video about someone who is actually getting at another person I watch for being too nice about the movie to the point that it's getting a little ugly. And I don't appreciate like that level of I have to inconsequentially ramble, because like you're not going to affect the bottom line, the dollar. Like the only way I think that you can genuinely affect change in how people watch movies is by choosing what you give traffic and attention to, and then what you spend your money on and what you don't. So I saw Madam Web. I did think that it was mildly insulting. I was upset at the marketing's choice to try to lean into the idea that the Spider Women were going to be a thing, and then that is to me, a blatant lie, that the characters are only in a flash forward of what their future could be, and then at the end in a flash forward of what their future is going to be, and that there is no exploration of how these characters stop from being, I'm going to say, stock teenagers. This one is the one with the attitude. This is the nerdy one, and this is the one who's shy and socially anxious. And
it's exceedingly amusing to me that Sydney Sweeney is like the shy wallflower. I'm like,
yeah.
Has anyone seen you for? Yeah.
Now, typically when a movie tries to start you off with very like recognizably shifting characters into a certain position, it's because they're going to have some kind of arc and learn to be different than that. But clearly I have no idea what the original script or anything would look like. I don't know where in the process any of this stuff got put together, because Ezekiel Sims has gray hair because he's supposed to be old in some flash forwards, and then other times I don't know what's going on. Okay. But these girls, like Madam Web, who's, by the way, her real superpower, great, she can see the future and then she can do some other things later in the movie, maybe we'll talk about it, I don't know, but is driving an ambulance. She drives the ambulance like a superhuman, and it is one of the big payoffs of the movie.
Or a taxi.
The taxis, I buy a certain level of ridiculousness when it comes to superhero movies, but taxi through a wall, yes. Ambulance from a 3rd story, and then you just take off and you keep running. I don't know, man. there's usually a line between what acts superhuman and what doesn't act superhuman. And when you take a weird leap like that, there's so much of this movie that is seems like trying to be like humans can be superheroes. CPR is a core big tentpole thing. It's like, oh, this is the one thing I taught you. Oh my gosh, I've never said this before, but you're a really good teacher. Like, and so yeah, I bet Ben Parker, Adam Scott is very charismatic. I liked Emma Roberts as May Park, or not May,
Mary.
Mary Parker,
Yeah.
and
Be unsettling if
yeah, um, yeah, and I just it is so bizarre. Ezekiel Sims is a guy who is evil because something no one helped his family something.
yeah, so I will say that there are pacing issues. This is probably the most woefully underdeveloped villain in a superhero movie, but I would
How
also
is he
say that
rich? I don't know.
yeah, how do you get
Anyways,
I mean, he must have used his special spider powers. So you're giving it 2 down?
I'm giving it a full two down because I can't see. I know that they're
I
aiming
mean, you're
at
not
like
alone. I
Spider-Man, but
think
like
there's a good chance it'll drop into single digits for the critical score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is, and
yeah, but
I was looking on Internet Movie Database, which is usually pretty kind, and it's already at a 3.8. Um,
I do think that there's some toxicity to it though. I don't think I
there
think that
is,
there's a
it's
perfectly reasonable amount of entertainment to be gotten for one reason or another, whether you're someone looking for a funny bad time or you're looking for just some action or maybe like
so. I mean, I don't know if it helped. Like, I had sub-zero expectations because I had seen the first wave of reviews, and I had seen some of my Denver Film Critics Society colleagues, and their comments and their reactions, and I was like, oh well, there's no hope. And probably the most woefully underdeveloped villain of all time. There are pacing issues with the story. I would all honestly say no character in this entire film is developed aside from Cassandra Webb, who
mm,
gets a little bit of development, at least has a backstory, has something of a personality. Other than that, they don't really develop anything. And if you went in expecting you were going to get the Spider Woman movie, you probably are a little bit bummed. I think they're trying to use this as a Kickstarter for a potential franchise, which I know feels a little bit
absolutely.
laughable given the scores and where we're at. But I'm just gonna say, like, there were some things that I thought were amusing. In general, I really enjoyed Dakota Johnson in this. I know some people have complained about her line readings, her general um, you know,
This
general
does
character. It did not
mm,
bother me. I thought it was fine. I wasn't particularly attached to a lot of the other characters, but some of Dakota Johnson's line readings did make me laugh. And whether you were, I do gather that they meant for this to be more of a serious movie than probably I thought of it being serious. But here's where I'm at. All of the Sony non-Spider-Man movies, 2 Venom films, Morbius, are crap. None of them are good in any way. I liked this one better than any of those.
mm,
I love it? No. Do I think it's an incredible movie? No. But we have, if you looked at the litany of superhero movies, there are, no offense, much worse. I would watch this on a 24-hour loop for the rest of my life before I'd watch Dark Phoenix again. So let's be
okay.
honest about where we are
So
with
here's the
some of
thing.
these movies.
You say that, and I say at least Dark Phoenix has an interesting score from Hans Zimmer, and at least it has interesting characters, even
Ooh.
if they don't do interesting things. Whoa,
Dark Phoenix is a double thumbs down for
the
me.
double
I
thumbs down for you.
When I
Okay.
was looking, I put all Marvel movies into a list and I think there's 80 that I found. all the MCU projects and stuff. I have like 20 below Madam Web.
Okay.
Including some MCU films. I think this is better than The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, or the Ang Lee Hulk, which was just a pensive feel fest. I think it's better than X-Men Origins Wolverine or The
That's
Wolverine.
see,
And I love
that's
Hugh Jackman, but those movies sucked.
That's a good way to put it, though. Ang Lee's Hulk sticks out to me of that because Ang Lee's Hulk came out at a time when we hadn't decided on what the formula of a superhero would be. Good guy, bad guy, hero has a love interest. They get together and they do stuff that you see like that formula a lot. That's the problem is you're making this movie in a sea of female-led superhero projects across TV and movies of other superhero origin stories and a whole bunch of universes that are trying to tie things together. So there's like an unfair sort of comparison here where you try and look at it as a standalone movie, but there's this sort of back of your mind expectation that it's supposed to function in connection with other movies. And then this movie leads you into that, like, hey, this is going to have an association with Peter Parker in the larger world in that way because he's birthed during the movie. But like,
what Peter Parker and what? I mean,
well, it can only be Tom Holland. He would only be 9 years old if it was Andrew Garfield.
I got no sense that this is trying to connect in any way to existing MCU or.
Yeah, so maybe a whole new one. Maybe.
It's telling its story. But I think this movie is better than any of the 3 Fantastic Four films we've ever gotten.
Okay. I still think that's debatable, but yeah, that's fine.
There's just, there was a whole
better than the 2015 one.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't care for the other 2 either. It's just when I was looking and I was pulling them in, and I like this better than either of the Venom films, or much better than Morbius, which I thought.
I'm not gonna watch Morbius.
But yeah. So, I'm not saying it's great. I'm not like.
No, it's completely fair to like it.
It's not in my top 12 for the year, even though we're not very far into the year.
Well, I also think it's fair with all the stuff that's going on to say if you do like it, that's okay. You're not stupid. Like that's because there's a whole bunch of just nastiness kind of going on around this movie. And I think it's fair to say like, no, I can get if someone went in with zero expectations, wasn't heavily invested in a lot of things, not being watching the movie and being like, wow, I don't really think about this that much, but this is like bad to me. Like I don't see some average moviegoer. No, you're not an average moviegoer and you still liked it. So it goes to show, people have different experiences of things. But I think I could go for way too long on just individual, like Dakota Johnson's performance, right? Like this is supposed to be a franchise and she knows it, and then she's supposed to be a lead and she just feels like she doesn't even know where she's standing half the time. I'm not going to get sucked back into it. The point is, I completely understand people liking it and don't want it to feel like this like touchy conversation, because I don't think Madam Web deserves to be a big deal, even in a negative way. So yeah.
Well, we still have Kraven the Hunter to look forward to at some point.
Oh yeah, that one's going to turn everything around. 100%. That's Kraven the Hunter is going to be the greatest thing ever because
Well, we won't dwell on these, but before we get out of here, I wanted to touch on Super Bowl is not only probably the biggest televised event of the year, and obviously a championship game for NFL. It is also a big marketing launch pad for a lot of things. You have really fun Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Matt Damon Dunkin' Donuts commercials that launched a whole new Dunkin' Donuts menu. But you also get every year a bunch of trailers for movie and TV shows. I'm just going to quickly tick off a list of ones that came out, and then there are 3 in particular that they'll pull out. But A Quiet Place, day 1. Big marketing campaign for that. Fall Guy. I know you're excited to see that one. Going to be our first blockbuster of the summer. Despicable Me 4 and Kung Fu Panda 4 and Inside Out 2, because apparently for animated films this year we can only come up with sequels. The movie If from John Krasinski, an incredible Randall Park introduction to that that killed me. Kingdom of Planet of the Apes.
Yay!
And the movie Monkey Man, among others. Out of that group, is there anything that got you excited? Because you'll notice I left 3 out that I will hit on.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking. I was thinking. I knew you were with the big one that you were probably going to leave out, but like I wasn't sure which ones are the ones. I mean, obviously, I like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm a fan of those movies, so I'm going to be excited. But
That's your Mother's Day film, everyone. You can take your mother to Kingdom.
Yeah, I was not too hot. Like I liked the first one. So for me, what happened with those movies, I know this is so not on your path, but they made me a fan of Matt Reeves, the director, by watching 2 and 3. So again, I know that's a totally other wavelength than you're on for those movies, but he's not the person anymore. So
I don't know
back
if I
to
can
not
bring
being...
myself to rewatch them, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to remember enough to understand where we are in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes if I don't force myself. Let me tell you, if I force myself to do a rewatch of those 4, because I'm pretty sure there's 4.
There's 3.
There's only 3?
Rise, Dawn, and War.
Wasn't there the one with James Franco? Is that Rise?
That's Rise, yeah.
That was the only one I nominally enjoyed.
And that's the one that's not Matt Reeves. So.
Yes. Hundo P. That was the only one, though, that I felt like was almost an actual movie. I don't know. If I force myself to rewatch those, that might just automatically lower my score for Kingdom Games. Because I might be so full of sadness by the time. I don't know. I'm excited for if only because I like John Krasinski and I think that has a fun cast and looks a little lighter in premise. I didn't realize everything we're getting for like big animated releases is like sequels. I just rewatched Inside Out. I'm not sure. I feel like I needed a second one. Oh,
fair.
I mean, I liked Inside Out. I'm doing my favorite animated films countdown throughout the year. It's on there. That was part of the reason I rewatched. But we'll see. I'm not super excited they're making a 5th Toy Story either, even though I loved the first 3 and enjoyed the 4th one. It's just Despicable Me 4 seems like a lot because when you throw that in with the 3
2 Minions movies, or is there 3?
Maybe there's only 2. There's an indeterminate amount of Minions. There's movies and shorts. I get confused and I have to look them up. We can't trust my math because I think there's 95 Planet of the Apes movies. So maybe I was crediting that 4th one being the Tim Burton one. I can't believe they're making a 4th Kung Fu Panda movie either.
That is a shocker to me, but I enjoy those. Every time I'm like Kung Fu Panda, and then I saw it and I was like, wow. And then Kung Fu Panda 2, oh, I don't need a sequel to that. Oh, wow, I like that. Kung Fu Panda 3, does this need to be a trilogy? No. Oh, wow, I liked it. So now, while my expectations are like, I do like those movies, but I don't know. I'm assuming I'm going to go in and it's going to knock me up a little. Oh.
Well, I'm going to go to 3... I'm gonna go to 3 big ones. I'm gonna take them in release order. I think they're in release order because they have moved Deadpool 3, which we now know is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Confusing moves.
It was originally going to be in May. It got kicked back. I think now it's in July. And so I'm not sure if I got these first 2 correct on their release date. They're both coming in July, and they are both sequels. But Deadpool and Wolverine, we knew the trailer was going to come. Not much in the way of Wolverine. We are seeing how it's now tying into the larger MCU as soon as you see the TVA, the Time Variant Authority,
Yep.
I've enjoyed these movies. There's another question that I feel like nobody's mentioned that kind of got glossed over. Didn't his girlfriend get killed in the second one? And yet
No,
she was totally
no,
alive?
she's not. And that's the thing. I don't know how much planning there was to this because Deadpool 2 was 2018, so it was before Loki was ever a TV show. But the very end of Deadpool 2, which I thought would bug more people, and I don't hear people talking about it more, is he fixes the time machine, goes back, and the very beginning of that
Oh, that's right.
montage is he saves her.
That's right.
So all of Deadpool 2 technically didn't happen. So um
That's right.
yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, honestly. Because Cable's not there. So
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about you're right. But when I was watching her in there, I was like, oh look, they're all back. Wait, didn't she die? Wasn't that the impetus for his
which
like
makes sense why the
rage?
TVA is there, right? They Marvel just came up with a people messing with time authority right after Deadpool. Like it's I'm so happy about that. But anyways.
Yeah, I'm genuinely excited. This is the one MCU project that we're getting in theaters this year. They pulled everything out of 2024. So even though there's other Marvel movies, Madam Web, Craven the Hunter, I think there's one other one that Sony is foisting on us too. Um, I'll look it up while you tell me.
Venom 3, right?
Ah,
Isn't that still?
yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I mentally blacked it out.
Yeah.
Free Tom Hardy. Um, and Michelle Williams. They deserve so much better.
Free the cast and crew.
Morbius feels right for Jared Leto. I'm gonna let him stay there, but
You deserve Morbius.
free Tom Hardy. Oh, yeah. So the one MCU project, I think it's going to be one of the bigger movies of the summer. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
The other one that we're getting in July, and I don't know if this will be meaningful for you, but it darn sure meaningful for me, and that is Twisters. The long-awaited sequel that nobody asked for to Twister, which it kills me is almost 30 years old. Bill Paxton has passed away. Michael Crichton, who actually wrote the screenplay for that, has passed away. Lee Isaac Chung, who did Minari, which would be what you would immediately think of. You'd go straight from Minari to doing.
Absolutely. It's completely linear. You can't not do Twisters as your next movie. Wow.
And we have Daisy Edgar Jones, who I loved in Normal People. Glenn Powell, they're in this picture. You can't. There she is.
I think this was the biggest surprise for me. Seeing that trailer, I was like, I've never even seen Twister.
Oh, you've never seen
No?
Twister is one of my top 25 all-time favorite films.
Oh, excellent.
I love it. I am very excited for this and also have a lot of trepidation based on the trailer and I have a lot of questions, but I might just let it in. If you enjoy a good disaster movie, as I do, Twister was a lot of fun. I'm bummed that we don't have Helen Hunt or any, maybe she will appear. Rumor, I guess she wanted to direct the sequel, and when that didn't happen, she withdrew all involvement. So that was kind of a bummer. But I mean, the original Twister had a loaded cast. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman was in the original Twister. Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Alan Ruck. There's a whole bunch of people. I loved that movie. I thought it was fun. There was a lot in this trailer that gave me those vibes. In the middle of summer, you're kind of looking for. I love Twister, obviously, I just said, but I wouldn't say it's particularly deep.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's a heck of a ride. It was a lot of fun. They had some really clever graphical scenes but it was the story and the characters. There's a lot of emotions in Twister, which is what kind of ramps it up for me. And I'm be curious to see how they kind of carry that over here. But what did you've never seen the original? So were you at all excited by
Yeah, because I mean, this is a everyone kind of knows Twister. It's in the zeitgeist. It came out
96.
Like at least everyone my age or older, you're gonna know the cow flying through the you know it. And as far as that goes, it's one of those things that when as I'm getting older, I gradually realize this happens more with actors than with actual like movies. Like one I haven't seen that everyone goes and like I have to see is Braveheart. But yeah, it's still like you have this preconception of like, oh, I know that, so I don't have to make my own opinion about it and judge it and do something. Like when I rewatched all the Fast and Furious for this around last year, a little bit later, I a lot of my preconceptions of what I assumed about some of the movies were right and some were wrong, but gleefully wrong about the first one. That was amazing. And so it's kind of to me what the trailer did for me was give me a different kind of flavor of what the movie would be, and I never saw the original to have like an expectation. So it's just kind of like, oh, this could be really fun. And in like, in like a tense kind of way. But yeah, exactly is kind of a summer storm cloud like escape. I don't know why, but my brain keeps thinking a little bit of Nope. Like just something about that desert cloud kind of like.
If they do introduce aliens, that would be a big departure from.
Yeah, no, I doubt. Yeah, but then again, Twisters. But
finally, we know why Chung is directing.
Yeah, so I'll look forward to watching the first one too, and just kind of getting into it. So
it made me feel a little old to realize that movie is 28 years old now.
It's not in its 30s.
No, but it is a little bit tough because 30 years is doing. I started looking at movies that are now are celebrating their 25th and 30th anniversary in 2024.
Mm.
A lot of my formative years are on that
list. The Crow is getting a 30th anniversary 4K release in May. I just found out, and that's interesting. I was like 3 years old when that movie came out, but I'm really excited about that.
I guess Lee Isaac Chung, it says he directed one episode of The Mandalorian too. I wish it would tell me which episode it was. The Convert, season 3. Oh, he directed. Interesting. He directed the standalone episode of The Mandalorian that doesn't actually have The Mandalorian in it, I think.
Neat.
Yeah.
I love Minari.
Yeah. And good for him getting to go. It's a pretty good cast. Glenn Powell's having a good run here. He was in Top Gun Maverick. He's been in some other stuff. So I'm reasonably excited. The last big trailer I want to hit on takes us all the way to Thanksgiving, and that is Wicked Part 1, which is probably one of the big anticipated films. Here we see the stars here, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. This is the first half of the musical coming out for Thanksgiving. This has been in the works for a long time. I didn't know we were going to get the trailer. I thought the visuals, and this was one that actually had a longer, like Deadpool and Wolverine did the great thing of giving you a 10-second teaser during the game and said go online and watch our trailer. Wicked actually embedded and paid for, I think it was a 90-second run right in the middle of the first quarter, showing all that footage. Everything that you saw, like the full teaser trailer, was actually there in the game, and I thought it was pretty stunning. I've never seen the musical, don't know a ton about it, but I saw Jeff Goldblum there as the wizard. I like the cast. I like the look. Did it make you more or less excited?
It took me from absolutely nothing to interested. I have a weird sort of fandom, I'll say, for lack of a better term, of Cynthia Erivo.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Bad Times at the El Royale.
I love that movie too.
I love that movie.
You know what? Maybe we'll have to revisit that, because who
do
else
like a spotlight.
Bad Times at the El Royale? Our girl Dakota Johnson.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yes.
And Hemsworth.
So many. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna.
Bad Times at
So,
the El Royale is a completely underrated film.
but here's the thing: Cynthia Erivo was also in another project called The Outsider for HBO Max that
Mhm.
Jason Bateman made like the first couple episodes in, and her character in that to me was insufferable, and it tainted my ability to watch her. It was so bad, and it turns out her character and the additions to that character were some of the only things in the show, which I all found out almost all were changes from the book. So like I liked everything about that show that was faithful to the book, and then it turned out this was just something I apparently disagreed with many choices of the person who decided to veer from the book. But so now when I see her, I think like, are they gonna let you be great? Or are they gonna make you be awful? Like what there's like extremes there. I don't know. So and this is like a high stakes, like she's performing, she's green, she's like it I really hope that it ends up like spectacular. But I have no idea what to expect. I feel like I'm just like confused sometimes. But yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I like a good musical, and that'll be one of the bigger tentpole kind of at the end of the year. So it was interesting to get an early look at that, see how it goes. But I don't know that much about it either. I enjoy The Wizard of Oz. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite of all time. Um, but some of the other tangential Return to Oz is strange and
Yeah.
not great. And then they did the one where James Franco prequel.
Yeah, Oz
I
the Great
can't.
and Powerful.
Oz the Great and Powerful. That also was a movie that exists.
Was
Uh,
there another recent project about Oz?
they've used it as a basis for making some TV shows, I think.
Mm,
Let's
I don't
see,
know why.
Frank.
Felt like there was something not too long ago.
Well, let's see. Frank L. Baum. Anytime you touch on Wizard of Oz, you have to give him credit for being a writer. So it looks like in 2023 there was a Wizard of Oz, but I don't remember
Mm.
seeing that. So that Oz the Great and Powerful has been a long time ago now.
But
I
yeah,
feel like
like
time has just kind of slid away lately.
yeah, I feel like I will say about Wicked.
That
So
was
I feel like
2013. That was 11 years ago.
yeah, I feel like something kicked off a little bit with Wonka, where these sort of like splashy cinematic shows with If and uh, it's escaping me right now, but just like Wicked and a few other projects, it just feels like we're getting these like very splashy design, fun, enjoyable like show experiences, and it's a spectacle outside of the just like beat 'em up blockbuster that like superhero movies are so big on. And so I just think it's kind of neat to get a break and get something that is focused elsewhere for a year. To just because I can only think like the Fall Guy and Deadpool and Wolverine and maybe kind of Twisters are the only big action movies that I can think of that fall into like the traditions of what kind of has been coming out, like your big event Top Gun things. Um I mean, of course, then there's, I guess, Craven is sometime later the year. I don't even know when that
I
is,
think
but
that's in August.
yeah. So, I'm just really interested to see what happens this year and what studios take away from this year and how that shapes things moving forward. Because, like, out of this week has come even more trailers and more news and like the Fantastic Four casting news and all of this other stuff. And it just feels like there's a lot going on, but not a lot happening.
Furiosa's coming out in the summer.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Okay, there's that one.
Bad Boys 4 is coming out in the summer.
What? It
I know.
is?
Yeah, June 14th, not too far away. Ballerina, which is a spinoff from the John Wick universe, is coming
Oh,
in the
right.
summer. The Bike Riders, which was a film with Austin Butler and Tom Hardy that was supposed to drop at the end of last year, they punted and is now coming out in the summer, which is a
Mhm.
kind of a weird flex. It looks like
Oh.
Deadpool and Wolverine has resettled on July 26th. Twisters is July 19th, so I did get
Mm.
those backwards. But you're right. Like
I
we're
mean, if you
getting
think of
a
last
big
year,
Kevin Costner Western. It's called Horizon: An American Saga. This is allegedly part of the reason that he quit Yellowstone, the TV show, because he was working on this. The first
yeah,
part is coming out in June. The second part is coming out in August.
yeah, but
There's
like
another Alien film that's coming in August.
this time alone last year, we had Ant-Man and the Wasp back to back with Cocaine Bear, Creed 3, Scream 6, Shazam 2, John Wick 4, Dungeons and Dragons, Mario, like, and that just like brrr, like nonstop, like
Well,
into a crazy summer.
we are kind of, Argyle was a, even though we didn't love it, was a pretty big tentpole to start February, and then you just had Madam Web, which again, not everybody loved, but
Yeah.
was kind of a bigger. And Dune Part One is first week in March, and then the
Mhm.
last kind of
And
2 weeks
Ghostbusters
in
and
March, you
Godzilla.
got Godzilla and Ghostbusters. Yeah, so I mean,
Mm,
you're kind of
yeah, I guess it's
rolling, and
not.
then
Maybe it's
in
just
April, that Monkey Man, which is
yeah. That
looks
looks.
like a big action movie. Civil War, which I was surprised we didn't
Oh yeah.
see
I thought there would have been
trailers for
something.
that, because that's coming. They moved that up to April 12th, so that's not very far away. Then you have Abigail and the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is a Guy Ritchie thing, is
Yup.
coming in April, and then April ends with Luca Guadagnino's The Challengers, which was another one that got pulled out of 23, that has Zendaya and
Mm,
looks pretty fantastic. So I do feel like they've spread some bigger ones out. It just I don't know if we have the same. It, maybe we just haven't gotten there yet. But you're right. It's that I think it's kind of like the name recognition or the
yeah.
big blockbuster buildup. I think Dune is starting to build up that, and the early takes on Dune Part Two have been incredible. I can't wait to see that in a couple of weeks and to talk about
Okay.
that. Hopefully, that will be the emotional kind of path that I had wanted to pair with Denis Villeneuve as a brilliant technical filmmaker. So I'm excited to see that, but we will see how that goes. Next week, we are going to see Ethan Coen without his brother, which that has not gotten great early buzz. Drive Away Dolls was originally supposed to go in fall of 23 and got booted out, and is coming as the big release. But Eric and I are going to do something a little bit different next week. For those of you who have been on the episodic kick, True Detective Night Country kicked off mid-January, and in just about 70 minutes, the finale will go up. So we are going to be talking about True Detective Night Country next week. Hopefully, it will have a good final episode. Again, it goes up in just about 70 minutes. Should be on Max, and we'll kick off on HBO 9 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends, especially some of the big moments last week, and I'm looking forward to chatting a little bit about it with you.
I am learning just now that it's not 8 episodes; it's 6.
Oh, I didn't realize you didn't know that. It's only 6, yeah. True,
Oh, good luck to this show. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
True Detective ends tonight.
Okay, I'm gonna hold my opinion till next week.
Yeah.
All right.
So, uh, until then, you have some time to go spend 6 quality hours with Jodie Foster in Ennis, Alaska, and only 82 minutes with Ethan Coen, a very short runtime for Drive Away Dolls. So we have a long form and we have an extremely short form next week. Sums up 2024 and probably 2023 in a nutshell, that kind of diversity. So we'll look forward to that next week. Until then, we will see you at the